Yo, what's going on, everybody? We are here for a new afternoon time slot. Something we're going to try new on the Wrestle Purist channel, where we basically kind of myself and Ibu on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and it will be myself and Joe Hall, but on Fridays in the afternoon, we're going to kind of give you guys like a news, latest updates kind of show, something that will keep you all up to date with the latest ongoings in professional wrestling. Hopefully we can touch on some things that you might have missed, and of course we'll go over the main stories. But yeah, it's something new that we're going to try out in this similar afternoon slot. So we've got quite a few things to get into. Of course, there's been some Cash Wheeler updates with his arrest from over the weekend and the possibility of him being able to be on the All In card. We're going to quickly go over some of the weekend notes, some potential AEW incomings and returns. Same thing for WWE, potential incomings and returns. And we're going to recap Raw as well at the end. But yeah, man, first things first, please like, subscribe, super chat if you're feeling generous, turn on the post notifications, and yeah, man, co-hosted along with my good brother Ibu, better known as Backup Hangman to some of you guys. But yeah, man, Ibu, we got some stuff to get into. We've got some stuff to get into. But yeah, let's jump right into it, brother. I know this is a little early for Ibu, Backup Hangman. Normally he doesn't. He's only just got out of bed, so it's we got to take it easy with him. But we'll start with the big news, of course. Over the weekend, the huge bombshell that dropped was Cash Wheeler was arrested and incarcerated in Florida over charges of aggravated assault with a firearm. But in the latest update, it seems that he is not going to miss AEW All In at Wembley Stadium this coming Sunday, which of course was a huge worry for a lot of people. As soon as you hear about a wrestler being arrested, especially with a firearm, and you know that they're meant to be coming over to England, which is of course quite strict with letting people in with any sort of like charges or convictions or anything like that. A lot of people were worried, myself included, but yeah, but it seems like Cash Wheeler is able to make the show. So I know you was pretty worried about it, and I'd assume that you're pretty fired up about Cash Wheeler expected to be allowed to compete on the show and defend the AEW tag team titles along with Dax against against the Young Bucks.
Yeah, I am glad. I mean, at the end of the day, this match, this Young Bucks FTR match, is probably going to be the best match on the pay-per-view, in my opinion. And had this match not been able to take place, it would have dramatically affected my enthusiasm for All In. So I'm glad it's able to happen. I wonder if this situation is going to change any intended booking plans. I'm really not sure. But
It's hard to say. Yeah,
it's really tough to say. I think we might be able to tell based on what happens when we watch the match. But when the first headline came out that he got arrested,
very scary headline.
Very scary headline. You didn't know what he did, and it was very unclear if he'd be able to travel. After the dust settled a little bit and we got maybe some more details and like 2 to 3 hours passed, at that point I actually got pretty secure and confident that he'd be able to stick around and do this match. He missed this last episode of Collision, I presume, partially for, the reasons of the situation. He might have still been in jail, to be frank. I think he had to spend the weekend. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it's good that he's able to do this match, and it's gonna be like one of the greatest tag team wrestling matches of all time, quite frankly. So I'm excited. I'm happy he's able to kind of move past this situation.
Yeah, man, fired up. It's obviously a massive positive for those of us that will be there and also be watching AEW All In at Wembley Stadium. And of course, like, it would have been an absolute, it would have been tragic if, a team, the current AEW tag team champions, wouldn't have been able to defend their bouts in, let's be honest, one of the biggest matches on the show. You could possibly argue the biggest match on the show, years in the making, and it seems like this is going to be, the third in the trilogy. This is going to be, you would suspect, their last match for a while. It's not. I know they don't exactly wrestle every month or anything like that, but once they get this third one, this one feels like the season finale of the FTR Young Bucks multi-year long feud, and I don't think there's a better place to do it, to be honest. Wembley Stadium in London, over 80,000 people there, you know. But yeah, let's kind of go for a quick rundown of kind of what the timeline has been with this Cash Wheeler situation. So on August 18th, which was Friday, I believe. Yeah. So on Friday, it came out that Cash Wheeler has been arrested and is currently incarcerated in Florida on charges of aggravated assault with a firearm. Um, Sean Rossap followed up with this pretty quickly with respect to him. He requested some sort of information. He obviously reached out to AEW and they said AEW has been made fully aware of the charge and we're closely monitoring the situation. And he's fully cooperating with the local authorities. Then some more details came out about his arrest regarding when it happened. So the warrant for his arrest was actually filed on July 28th, which of course was quite a while ago, considering August 18th was when he actually, got arrested, etc. So he was working matches with a warrant out for his arrest. A lot of
Yeah,
people
man.
were kind of pointing out. So that's
Well,
definitely an interesting thing.
that's a fucking
Um,
throwback, man. You got cats out here having. It wasn't just like matches; like it was like really, really good
yeah,
wrestling matches. This
memorable
guy,
matches.
notably strong wrestling matches. He did the match against Better Than You, Bay, which is great. He had the fucking the match against Big Bill and Brian Cage. That was an awesome opener the day of SummerSlam. And then he had the CMFTR versus House of Black match. These
Yeah,
are
man,
three really good matches that this man had. While on the
absolutely.
back of his mind, he knew that he had a warrant out for his arrest. That's if that isn't a throwback, then I don't know what is. I guess listen, man, they're living the gimmick out there on Collision. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, man, it's definitely something we haven't seen in a hot minute. But yeah, Cash Wheeler filed a plea of not guilty to the charge of aggravated assault with a firearm via his attorney with the Circuit Court of Orange County, Florida, on August 3rd. It was believed to be a road rage incident. During that incident, Wheeler allegedly flashed a gun at the alleged victim. Wheeler's attorney stated that he did not know the other parties, so it wasn't like a domestic abuse case or anything like that. This was like previously mentioned, allegedly a road rage case with with a random guy basically or woman. I'm not sure. Wheeler's bond was set for $2,500, and he had to turn in all or any weapons that he still had in his possession. And the first positive to come out of the story was Cash Wheeler was not asked to surrender his passport by the Circuit Court of Orange County, Florida, on Friday. There was no restrictions on Wheeler traveling internationally that were imposed by the court. And since Wheeler was not convicted of a crime, it does not currently appear he will have any issues traveling to London. So yeah, then of course there was the officer report, which was kind of a wild one. A couple of quotes include the victim stating that he was driving on the West Interstate 4 North exit. Hold on. He was driving west on Interstate 4 north of exit 83. He noticed a Jeep Gladiator weaving in and out of traffic, honking its horn, so he moved over to the far right lane to let the Jeep pass. The victim then said that as the Jeep took the right shoulder to drive around him on the passenger side, the victim looked over and noticed a white male with a beard pointing a black semi-automatic handgun out of the driver's window at him with a strong stare. A very a very interesting police and victim report. Of course, there's a few questions to ask in there. It's like, how did it escalate to that level? But who knows? You ask people in Florida if this happens all the time, and they'll
Yeah.
tell you, yeah. So I don't know. It's a wild one for me, being the UK guy on the podcast. People, I've never really had anyone point a gun at me over road rage. We kind of just we do hand gestures and swear at each other instead. But you're getting down crazy over there in Florida, Ribble.
Yeah, Monty. Listen, Florida's a lawless land, and they're just kind of subhuman over there. So this is kind of the thing. And I've seen a lot of the kind of our international fan base react to this news in that way, where they're just kind of like, man, like, is this just how y'all Americans get down with the guns and stuff like that? And
Crazy.
the fact of the matter is, there's a bunch of states that are open carry where people just walk around with these things at their shoulder, and yeah, people pull guns out for like anything, public events, and it's anything. So no, this isn't like something so out of the ordinary. And even though this probably shouldn't be normalized, when I heard about the story and I heard it was a road rage thing and that he might have flashed the gun at a guy after yelling at him, I'm like, yeah, that's that is a situation that can absolutely happen in America. Regarding the details of the report that were detailed in the outline, I would hope that it's at least to some degree exaggerated, because otherwise then you'd have some concerns about Cash in terms of his well-being and temperament. He's never been arrested before, to my knowledge, so you know,
Yeah,
you
and
got to
it's
give
not
the
like he's ever gained a reputation of being like a hothead or anything like that. But we
right.
don't know the guy, so
Yeah, we do. So
it's
yeah,
tough.
so I say that to say that like you hope this is a situation where you can just kind of give him the benefit of the doubt, isolated incident, and move on from it. Because if this was like a pattern of behavior, then it's a totally different story. But to this point, it's not, and he hasn't been arrested before, and he hasn't gotten in trouble in any of the promotions he's worked for. So yeah, but look, it's a wild story, and the type of thing that would happen in Florida, on a daily basis. So that's kind of what that is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the latest news today from Sports Illustrated: Cash Wheeler is expected to be in London and wrestle at AEW, all in pay-per-view at Wembley Stadium. Sources confirmed to them. It says exactly, despite the arrest, Wheeler, whose name is Daniel Wheeler, is expected to be in London, England on Sunday and wrestle at AEW's All In pay-per-view at Wembley Stadium. Sports Illustrated has confirmed. He also noted that there is no certainty on whether Wheeler informed AEW CEO Tony Khan ahead of time about the arrest. That's, of course, been a very interesting question since Friday, especially since it came out that the warrant for the arrest was issued on July 28th, I believe. So ever since that information came out, everyone was kind of wondering, like, when did Tony Khan find out? Did Tony Khan know and knowingly put him in matches? What does Tony know, etc., etc.? When did he know? So maybe someone, the media call for All In is literally on right now. So maybe someone will ask him on there. Maybe he's already answered it. But yeah, that is definitely one of the questions coming out of it. So when did Tony Khan know? But I think it's fair to say, like we said a couple of times already, it's good news. Cash Wheeler able to defend the tag titles at AEW All In. So yeah, man, that's the first thing I wanted to get into. So let me just close a few of these tabs, and we'll get into the next thing, which is AEW. Man, they might have a new signing on the way. They may have a new signing on the way. It seems like Mariah may possibly be AEW bound, according to a Fightful Select report. They've been told that AEW has had discussions about potentially working with Mariah, someone that they're definitely interested in. But yeah, they did note that Fightful have not been told if Mariah and AEW have had active talks, or with WWE either, or negotiations. She's currently in Japan, where she's been working for Stardom for the past few months, and she's developed a really good reputation for herself over there. I believe she's been working in the 5-star. She had a really good match with Julia. She was recently the Goddesses of Stardom tag champs with Mina Shirakawa. That reign got quite a lot of praise as well. So, like I said, she's been making a really good account of herself internationally. She is a fellow Brit, so shout out to her. But yeah, Ibu, it seems like AEW. I guess we can add a little bit more to this. I'm not sure how much exactly you want to add, Ibu, but I think it's fair to say that people in AEW are very confident that they've got themselves a really good one with Mariah May here, if she does sign.
Yeah. She's looked at internally as somebody that can really make a difference for their women's division, and that's why this is coming out, because they have 100% pursued her. People in the company see her as someone who can be a game changer for their division, somebody that they can, uh, position as a top person. Yeah, genuinely, like that. That's how they're feeling about it. And so, if they do indeed land Mariah May, and the signing is announced. We'll see what happens. She's somebody that I think is talented. She's somebody that I think has made big strides in Stardom from a wrestling standpoint. She has the presentation down pat. She's a good-looking woman. She can wrestle. And again, AEW thinks that she can be a TV star. So it's yet to be seen. We'll see if she's officially signed and what happens there. But yeah, I we have never seen her on weekly American television wrestling, right?
Hmm.
So there's an unknown factor there, and so it's kind of hard to project where she's going to land. And then there is the the just fact at the moment, which is that their division it's still not where it needs to be, and so it's like, how will she fit into that, and will she kind of just get lost in the shuffle too? Will she become just a person, or will she be someone pushed hard? And so I think this is going to be one of those situations where if she does indeed sign with AEW, she has something to prove on her end that she can really be that person. She's going to have to deliver on her end for sure as a performer, and the company's also going to have to give her something to work with in terms of
Yeah,
presenting her
definitely.
presenting her as a worthwhile wrestler, someone that people should care about, and putting her in situations that put her in the best position to succeed. So yeah, I mean, we'll see for sure. We'll definitely see. I'm curious how this is going to turn out. I'm actually going to really monitor this one. I'm pretty interested. So yeah.
Yeah, same. And like you said, she definitely has tools there. Like as you can see on screen, like she's got a great look, great presentation, takes herself very seriously. She's making strides in ring. She's developing a name for herself. There's definitely something there. But of course, with AEW and their booking of the women's division and stuff, which has been highly, critiqued, etc., she isn't going to be able to just moonwalk in and, make a difference all by herself and getting over just straight by herself. Like they are going to have to give her stuff, and they're going to have to make her the star that they hope she can become, because it's not going to be like it's not going to be like Becky Lynch, who kind of got to, like, she was always kind of a featured star, of course. Like she's she was one of the horsewomen before she came the man, but like the way she got over wasn't supposed to happen, and it was kind of like all on her own back. But like Becky Lynch is a, how long of a pro she is. She's been in the game for how long? Mariah May has been in the game for like 4 5 years. So they're gonna have to give her a lot, but hopefully, if they do give her a ball to run with, she can run with it. But AEW's women's division's got a lot of really talented women, so there's other women that can take the ball as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of balance her push with everyone else, especially if they see her so highly. Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens there. But elsewhere in AEW, I believe we've got some more stuff. We've got Ace Steel. Ace Steel, of course, has been reported a few times. I believe Fightful Select first reported this like a month or two ago about Ace Steel was fired by AEW after the whole brawl out situation. Then he was secretly hired back. Um, and now, in one of the latest updates, according to one source in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, he also received back pay from the time he was let go as a concession to CM Punk. Like I said, Fightful Select already kind of touched on this. Fightful Select reported earlier on in last week that there was a suggestion that Ace Steel may have received back pay, whereas Dave Meltzer in Observer Newsletter, of course, just straight out said, he also received back pay, and it was also a concession to CM Punk. So either bringing back Ace Steel to keep CM Punk very happy about it, and he even got some back pay on top. Was you at all surprised about the back pay, or?
That felt like a Phil Brooks demand that they chose to meet. One of the primary priorities of AEW internally is to keep CM Punk happy, and he rides for his guys. His
He
guys.
does. Yeah. He still rode for him though, bro. Like we
Yeah, yeah,
we hear the stories about what happened at Brawl Out.
yeah. I
You
mean, the
know,
guy.
he,
The guy allegedly jumped in a fight with malice to save his friend, and yeah, look, if you're good to CM Punk and he feels like you're loyal to him and you're one of his guys, he will ride for you. And so it does not surprise me that he most likely demanded, you're gonna fucking pay this guy everything he missed, and all of that. So yeah, man, good for them, I guess. Good, good,
not a
good,
huge
good.
shock. Not a huge shock.
No,
Um,
no.
but yeah, just to quickly touch on the Mariah May thing. Little detail I missed out. Mariah May shut down her Big Cartel store recently, and she also posted a tweet saying, "I will never forget this time of my life." This was just after or just before she dropped the Goddesses of Stardom tag titles. So it definitely felt kind of like like a little goodbye post to Japan. And of course, the Big Cartel store being closed usually indicates that a wrestler is going to one of the big two, WWE or AEW. So,
Correct.
but yeah, man. Mariah May, we'll see where she ends up as AEW definitely seems like the most likely situation. But other AEW incoming, Santana, of course, from very much loved tag team before he got injured, Santana and Ortiz. He's apparently ready for an in-ring return after being out injured since last June. Of course, many will remember that Santana was injured in Blood and Guts 2022, which of course happened last June. I believe it was an ACL tear, an absolutely brutal injury for any athlete, not even just wrestlers. He's been out for a long time, but it seems like he's ready. He's ready to return. There was some talk of him, him and Ortiz being able to link back up because, of course, as many will know, they have not been on the greatest terms up until when Santana unfortunately got injured. But apparently, there hasn't been much progress made between the two in terms of getting onto the right page. But it was said that it's not impossible that they work together in the future. This is all according to Fightful Select. Sean Rossap, of course, doing a great job. But yeah, Santana. Even if he does come back, it would be nice to see him back with Ortiz, don't you think?
Yeah, I'll give you guys something here. I mean, look, at the end of the Santana internally, there's not that much internal interest in Santana or Ortiz as singles wrestlers, and that doesn't even need to be a report. You can just watch the product and kind of parse that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can clearly see what they're focusing on. There's just not they don't see much in these guys as solo guys, and so if and there's been reported dissension between them and stuff, but if they can overcome that, you will likely be seeing them as a team in AEW shortly. Santana, you guys can expect him soon. You can expect him in some capacity at the Wembley Stadium show. Yeah, you can expect him at the Wembley Stadium show.
That's even more interesting now because in the Fightful Select report, Ortiz was pulled from his indie bookings this weekend.
Yes.
Apparently due to AEW obligations, which of course they're going to be in London, so there's very limited number of obligations that could be. So
There you go, and so just connecting the dots there, then that would not shock me if Ortiz found out that, hey man, we want you at Wembley as well, and yeah, maybe we do get a Proud and Powerful reunion at the show, but Santana will be at Wembley Stadium, and so I'm going to cautiously guess that he's tagging with Ortiz in some capacity. It's in some way, shape, or form, maybe making an appearance in an angle or something like that.
yeah, man, would not surprise me even, especially with you kind of just dropping that on us. But yeah, another AEW return that has been talked about. Jay Cargill. Dave Martin, the Wrestling Observer newsletter on Friday, said that Jay Cargill's name has been talked about regarding coming back soon. So it does seem that there is at least some traction with her coming back to AEW because there were some quiet whispers that she was very disinterested in wrestling and wasn't really fired up about the prospect of returning to AEW or wrestling in general. So at least there's at least some reports and talks of her, wanting to come back or at least being brought back. So, Jade Cargill, man, of course she's a star. Like she's a big star in the making, and they did get her to a certain level with the TBS title reign, but towards the end, it did get pretty. I don't want to say brutal. It was more so boring. It's not like they were doing wrestle crap or anything like that. It just became like boring and kind of lifeless towards the end. And it doesn't surprise me that Jay Cargill's interest in the business did kind of take a hit with how the way the end of that TBS title reign went. But yeah, Jay Cargill, Ibu, what would you do with her when she comes back? If she comes back?
I'll tell you what. Last spring, when she was with the baddies and Stokely, and she was feuding with the combination of, I want to say, Athena, Chris Statlander, and like maybe Willow was in there a little bit. That was like really fun stuff. And then they just kind of went away from that so fast and so abruptly. And I didn't really understand it because I was like, Jade was getting somewhere, in my opinion.
Yes.
And then they got Stokely out of the group, which was really strange to me. And then like they broke the baddies up and put Layla Gray in and switched that around. That whole stretch was very confusing to me, and I couldn't figure out why they were doing those changes because nothing was broke, so I don't know why they were trying to fix it, unless it had things. It had to do with non wrestling stuff that I'm just not privy to. But Since then, yeah, I mean, look, Statlander was the intended person to beat her for the TBS title. She got injured, and so they just didn't know what to do. And so she was in like the worst holding pattern you could think of, where she just didn't
Yeah, she was just kind of floating around, you know.
floating, didn't do anything. She'd be on Rampage to squash people like every so often, and not even like a particularly compelling way. And yeah, wasn't doing Russell crap outside of the Bow Wow stuff. Just kind of
Oh my god, you remember? I
yeah,
forgot about
yeah.
it.
Remember the Bow Wow program? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
the
I
program that wasn't a program as well. Like, it's just,
yeah. Now it's weird, Monty, because to me, I thought like she could be the big baby face coming in on the Outcast versus Originals feud. I thought she could maybe show up and be that person, but that feud fizzled out, and they just totally gave up on that. And now it's kind of tough. Like I really don't know what could be her spot. I'm not sure. I don't know if you want to throw her at a Hikaru Shida. I don't know if you want to put her on Collision. Her and CM Punk have a good relationship, so I could see her on Collision. But the next question is, okay, then what?
yeah,
Um, like is she going to be a heel? Is she going to be a baby face? They're already positioning Willow and Statlander as like the kind of the top babyface tandem out of the women over there. Okay, so then what does she do? Are you going to be the heel? Uh, Thunder Rosa is making her return soon. So a lot of questions, not that many answers, and thankfully I'm not the guy that has to make
yeah.
decisions because, to be completely frank, I'm honestly not sure what you do. But I am happy that she's probably on her way to return because I'm a fan of Jade Cargill, and I still think that she hasn't reached her potential, and I'd like to see if she can.
Yeah, I think that's a sentiment that will be shared amongst many AEW fans. Like they want her back. They know the potential's there. She's a big star. They're happy to see her, but it's like you said, then what? You know, it's like. But luckily, that's not our those are not our decisions to make, and hopefully they get it right this time around. Because, like I said, towards the end of that TBS title run, it's going to be dicey. But speaking of returns, we're going to switch now over to WWE, where it was announced, I believe, yesterday by Fox that John Cena is set to return to WWE on the September 1st edition of SmackDown, which, of course, is next week's episode of SmackDown. John Cena, it is always nice to see him, isn't it, Ibu?
Yeah, I mean, look, John Cena's a big star, and this is the time of the year usually where WWE kind of like falls into like a lull or gets kind of boring, and it's kind of tough because post SummerSlam WWE usually isn't that interesting, and then when football season comes, you usually start seeing like panic decisions and things that they can do to keep the ratings up. And I think so far they're doing a pretty solid job post SummerSlam of like having a fairly lively product, and with the Bloodline kind of taking a step back in this period. What better way to kind of keep things rolling than get John Cena if you can? And so
Yeah, man.
that them securing Cena during this writer strike is kind of a no brainer. I mean, there's a writer strike. John's probably gonna have some more open days. You might as well get John Cena on TV, even if it's just in a promo capacity. You pop a quarter, and you probably get some good TV out of it. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for it, and I'm looking forward to seeing John Cena on SmackDown.
Yeah, man. People love him. People love him. It's John Cena, of course.
It's John
It's just
Cena.
yeah, man, it's just good vibes. You know, like you said, even if he just comes in and cuts a promo or something, or does a segment or whatever, like people will still tune into it. People will still pop for it. People
He's
will
still
still be
he's still
nostalgic over it. It's still John Cena. You know.
he's still a big ticket mover, and he still pops the quarters. So yeah,
Yeah. Talking of ticket movers, I believe the show that he's got added to for next week only had, at the time of announcement, only had like 800 or 900 tickets left to sell. So they're probably already gone. It wouldn't surprise me. By the next WrestleTix update, if that show's completely sold out now. Um, Apparently, he will also be at the India house show, and he will be wrestling on there, I believe. Um, Only set up for a 5K building, which I know would sound quite surprising to a lot of people when you're thinking about like the Indian wrestling market, because it is in fact like a really big market. It's just that they're not really a ticket buying market, you know. So
that's
you know,
interesting.
like WWE have like pretty strong TV deals over there, etc., etc., and you know they get a lot of interest on social media over there. Of course, it's a huge country with a huge population, so none of that's too surprising. But they're just not very big ticket buyers. You know, WWE is going over there for this house show, and I think they're only set up in, I think it's like a 5K seat building, and they've set it up for like 4,000 people. You know, so that goes to show, because when they go internationally everywhere else, it's like they're just look what they've just done in the UK, for example. Like Clash at the Castle done like 67,000 people. Money in the Bank sold out instantly for like 10-15k people. So yeah, man, like I said, India, huge market, but not really ticket buyers, but they are going to get to see John Cena. So John Cena wrestling in India at his big age, I take my hat off to him, you know.
He is so gonna go house show Cena mode. He is so gonna do what he did on that SmackDown where he tags in, does the 5 moves of doom, does
Yeah,
that
man,
AA.
it's big business, you know. It's,
Yeah,
you gotta do what you gotta do, bro.
I respect it. I respect it.
But yeah, talking of other WWE potential incomings, Brian Pillman Jr. Of course, it is reported by, I believe it was PW Insider, that he's already like signed, and he's with WWE, kind of like awaiting his first day. It's like he's moved to Body Slam. First reported that he was going to WWE and that he's moving to Orlando, etc., etc. And it's a done deal. But there has been kind of like some floating rumors and talk that he's not actually signed the deal yet. In the latest update from Dave Meltzer on the Observer Radio earlier today, or last night, whenever it is they record it, he said that he knows that Brian Pillman Jr. went for his medicals recently, and there's a good chance he'll be hired by WWE, which of course adds some fuel to the talk that he's not actually signed on the dotted line yet. But regardless of whether he has or not, it does seem like he is coming in according to all reports and sources. So, Ibu, do you know at all if he's signed on the dotted line yet, or where the situation is with Brian Pillman Jr.?
All I knew was that he was there for the Performance Center tryout. Like they let me know that like Brian was here in the PC and he was doing stuff in the PC. Like he's been in the PC.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a tryout. He's had interactions. It's not a case of like he drove there asking for a job and he's just hoping to wait for it. It wasn't like it's not like like cause some people have done that. Like there's been wrestlers that like will just go to Florida, shoot their shot, and hope for the best.
God
This
bless.
Yeah, people have done this.
Business is still real.
Yeah, people have done this, but no, it wasn't that type of thing. Like he has contacted them. He has been in the Performance Center. He's been in front of Matt Bloom and Biff Busick and these guys, doing some stuff, getting his physical work and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I have not heard about any official signing. I don't know, but the people that I was speaking to expected him to start fairly soon. So
Mm-hmm.
if that's the expectation, I'd imagine then that's just kind of what's going to happen there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Brian Pillman Jr. An interesting signing, definitely. Another note from Dave in the Observer Radio was about NXT Europe. So apparently, it was supposed to happen at the start of 2023, the launch of NXT Europe. Goes well. I don't need to explain what NXT Europe is to, to you guys. Of course, you already know what that entails. But yeah, of course, with the merger with Endeavor / UFC, that's kind of halted things a bit. So yeah, now it's not until after the merger, and apparently the target that Dave Meltzer has heard is a 2024 start, and apparently there is also some interest in doing at NXT Mexico and NXT Japan. Those things have been spoken about as well. So, Ibu, it sounds like Triple H is potentially planning his NXT World
We'll take
Takeover
over.
again. Yeah, everyone remembers the. It's almost become a meme now of Triple
Yes.
H in front of the projector, like pointing out all the different territories that he wanted to take over with NXT all those years ago.
Outlining his world domination plan.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah, I low key don't believe that it was trying. I don't think they were actually going to try to launch it at the beginning of 2023. Yeah, I don't buy that, to be honest with you. Because WWE did not make any motions to sell the company until January. And there was no rumblings of anything in the late 2022 that they were looking at signing independent guys from the UK, unless they were on the low and we just didn't know. Like they were just keeping it super low key. I didn't hear anything about that.
mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Interesting that they're still continuing to do this and proceeding, because this is a very Triple H pilled decision, Monty.
Of course.
This is not a Vince thing. But Hunter's not on the board of directors, and he doesn't run WWE overall. And on this Endeavor thing, like, he doesn't have any stroke from that standpoint. But making these significant like additions to the brand is a it's a initiative from him. So I guess if they're going to proceed with this, my only takeaway at the moment is that he clearly, it appears, still has like significant say so within the promotion, which would line up with what I was told when I asked about uh like when I asked about like him on the board, like not being on the board and things like that. It was basically explained to me that like he's Dana White when it comes to this Endeavor ladder chain of command, so to speak. You know what I mean? So within his umbrella of WWE, it does seem like he gets to kind of do what he wants. And yeah, we'll see what happens with this NXT Mexico and Japan. I have my significant doubts that Japan will ever get off the ground. Mexico, he might be able to carve something through there, because
I don't know.
I could see Conan rolling over for him, Monty.
But yeah, that's a completely different thing, like if him and Conan are plotting, it's a different thing than if he's going in there like, okay, I want to go in there and I want to compete with AAA, I want to compete with CMLL, I want to compete with what's the other one called, like the Crash? Is that what it's called? Like the one that does it does really big attendances. There's other ones as well.
There's Big Lucha.
Yeah, it's a competitive market, man.
Which we had a major exodus from Big Lucha. People thought that Bandito was running Big Lucha, and that was by design. It's because the person who owned Big Lucha wanted him as the public face, but it's actually not his promotion. And he departed with all the big top babyface stars, and a lot of those guys who departed, they're looking to get signed somewhere. And AEW has not signed any of them, even though they've given Gravity a couple looks. But to this point, only Bandito is the guy from Big Lucha that actually has a deal. And there's a lot of guys right now on the market just kind of floating. Guys like Ares and Ray Horus. Black Taurus could get signed. There's a lot of guys. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I what I do know is that I do think they could get NXT Mexico off the ground. The market is such that I think he could pull it off. Japan is much more dubious. I don't know about that one.
We'll see how it plays out for him. But yeah, man. Moving on to the next thing. WWE and AEW, they've been putting out some great numbers recently. They've been, shouting and bragging about numbers that are definitely worth to be shouted and bragging about. So, the WrestleMania 40 general sale went on sale on Friday, I believe it was, and they sold over 90,000 tickets for the 2-day event, which automatically, like, it already has broken WWE's all-time gate record, which was WrestleMania 39. I believe it was 21.5.6 mil, something like that. So yeah, really great numbers for WWE's first day on sale. On general sale, there was a pre-sale as well, but in that first few days of ticket sales, by Friday they'd already sold over 90,000 tickets. So, and already broke their current gate record. So that's a great number for them. Then of course it was also reported by WrestleTix on, I believe it was Friday night as well, that AEW have now distributed over 80,846 tickets for All In at Wembley Stadium, which is more than the police turnstile number set by WWE at WrestleMania 32 in Texas, which was 80,709. So record-breaking numbers there for AEW and WWE. And yeah, man, great numbers. Good,
And they got
great to see.
They got 5 days to add more bodies.
Yeah, they've still got time. And yeah. Brandon Thurston also tweeted out earlier that WWE stock price hit an all-time high of $115.14 per share, which is, of course, I would have said an all-time high. But yeah, in other news, Tony Khan did an interview with CNBC earlier on this morning, and he did some talking about, of course, Wembley's coming up. That was like the big thing that they were talking about, but they were talking about like different revenue streams that they've got. As you can see by the quote on the screen, Tony Khan said there are great new revenue streams opening up to us. The video game space is very exciting. We've got great action figures. T-shirt sales are going to be through the roof when we go to Wembley Stadium. He's bringing a lot of shirts, he can assure us. So I know a lot of people, a lot of British fans
That's
were
fun.
worried,
Yeah, that's fun.
that they weren't going to get a lot of merch choices at Wembley. So hopefully Tony does stick to his word, and we get some nice threads to choose from.
That does feel like a subtle acknowledgement of the reported concerns and him kind of being like, "Don't worry, we got it under control. We got that taken care of." So
Yeah, man,
yeah.
definitely. He's very excited about the launch of AEW Fight Forever. He's talked about adding Stadium Stampede mode, which, for all the criticisms that AEW Fight Forever has probably rightfully got over the past few weeks, month of it being released, that Stadium Stampede mode does look like a hoot. I can't lie to you. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. And Tony Khan, of course, again reiterating that he would be very interested in getting AEW on the Max streaming service. He said that he would love AEW to be on Max, and he thinks that would be an amazing thing. Max is certainly his favorite streaming platform, and it is the streaming platform of his bosses, Warner Brothers Discovery, which is all true. And yeah, Ibu. AEW on Max, of course, that doesn't really mean too much to me being in the UK. We get all of our AEW content on Fight TV. We already have access to like the backlog of shows and the old pay-per-views, etc., etc. So we've actually got it really nice over here in Europe. I know over in the US it's very different, and the Max deal could be a potential game changer, couldn't it?
Oh, absolutely, Monty. We have no legal way to like watch
Criminal. I
past
think it's
AEW
criminal.
like TV and pay-per-views. Like I gotta go through like bootleg Chinese YouTube sites to get through it. So yeah, I mean, dude, if I had a way to watch like just old AEW, that'd be great.
Yeah.
They already have such a great history. There's so many. Think about this, Monty. There's so many excellent television matches that have been completely forgotten because like you watch it one week and then the weeks pass
Yeah,
by
it's
and you see
gone.
more. It's
It's
just gone.
gone.
It's just gone. There's so many like great. There's so many genuine 4-star level matches lost to time from like just 2 years ago. Like that if I just went on a cage match and read this to you, you'd be like, oh yeah. Like, so like, oh yeah, okay. So yeah. It's a game changer and I hope it happens. I hope they really get this one done.
Yeah, man. Hopefully. And yeah, man, it was actually quite a packed weekend. I know we spoke about it yesterday on the WrestlePurist Worldwide podcast, but celebrating 25 years of Edge in Toronto, the SmackDown episode, very much the Edge episode. They've done a really great job of giving him, the last match on his current deal. We still don't know if he's going to be coming back to WWE, if he goes to AEW, if he hangs up his boots for good. But if he does any of those things, this was the match with Sheamus on Friday was, of course, a really great, sentimental, feel good main event between, two legends of the business at the end of the day. Michael Cole even kind of added a bit of fuel to the flames of Edge potentially leaving WWE. And when the match was starting, he said, we've all read the rumors online. If this is it, Edge, tear the house down. And they absolutely did that. Many
I
people
enjoyed that
remember.
call. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good stuff, bro. Cole has received quite a lot of praise over the past few months, year or so. So, you know, many people will recall that Edge implied very heavily that a Toronto retirement last year for the upcoming year, which of course happened on Friday. He told ET Canada that the Sheamus match was the last match on his current contract. He also told Sportsnet that the same thing, and also that his deal runs out at the end of September officially. Fight for Select reported that many in AEW believe Edge coming in is a real possibility. Those close to him claimed earlier this year that he's not as out there as you'd think. And what you can see on screen now is Edge addressing the Toronto crowd on Friday after the show, saying that, this will probably be the last time that he gets to perform in front of them. And just kind of giving a nice go home speech, really. So to me, it honestly seems like Edge is undecided at this moment in time, and he could end up anywhere in the next few months. But yeah, man, wherever he goes, he definitely has a lot to add. And I don't think anything would surprise me, as I was saying last night on the WrestlePurist Worldwide podcast. If he goes AEW, I wouldn't be shocked. If he stays in WWE, I wouldn't be shocked. And if he retired, I would not be stunned at all. So, yeah, man. Ibu, you got any guesses to what Edge does?
I'm leaning AEW.
Okay, okay, like I
Not
said.
gonna say it emphatically, but I'm leaning there. Monty, as you know, as I told you privately, I've heard rumblings about him looking into it as an option, dating back to last spring. You know, he was not pleased with the direction of the Judgment Day, and there's people in that company in AEW that have actively wanted him to make the switch, and he has a lot of friends there, and he has ties to FTR and Christian, and yeah, I could definitely see it happening, and so that's kind of what I'm thinking, but it's not like a done like you said. There is a feeling of almost like uncertainty there
Mm-hmm.
that I don't think it's like a case closed type of thing either.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I hear you. Could end up anywhere. It's and like I said, he'd be valued in any company anywhere because it's fucking Edge, man. You know. But yeah, WrestleVotes even added a little bit to it. Asked if anything changed post-show regarding the status of Edge going forward. Source said he hasn't signed a new deal as of now, and the feeling what's creative and others is that of unknown. The ball is truly in his court. So we'll see. We'll see where he ends up. Then we'll see where he ends up. Of course, that was SmackDown. We also had Collision. It was a very light show in terms of content. Of course, there was the big CM Punk angle at the start of the show when he dressed up as the Golden Vampire. Make of that what you will. But yeah, man, AEW Collision. It was, like I said, very very light show. But it's also probably worth noting that we've recently come up to 2 years of CM Punk in AEW. A very eventful 2 years, to say the least, even if he wasn't there for like 6 months of it or however long he was out for. But yeah, 2 years, a lot's happened, a lot has changed in that 2 years. What would you say are kind of some of the most notable moments of CM Punk's time in AEW so far?
Definitely eventful. His return, obviously, that first dance show was just that was something else. It's one of the coolest moments in the history of wrestling, in my opinion. Um, that Rampage first dance was just special. So that's going to be near the top of the list. His first head-to-head promo with MJF was something, you know. And there's a lot of angles from that feud that are really notable, in my opinion. I mean, he had that really good match with him in Chicago to set up the dog collar, where he lost to MJF, and that kind of led to some of the Wardlow stuff. There was the angle at Daly's place where where MJF revealed himself to be the devil and beat him up and bloodied CM Punk. That was a great angle. He had a lot of fun early TV matches. Like I remember his matches with Daniel Garcia and Matt Sydal were like really really good. Um, you go through some of this other stuff. His tag match with John Moxley against FTR, that was great. That was really really fun stuff. He tagged with Sting and Darby. Remember against I believe it was MJF and FTR. That was really really good. Um, the Hangman Page feud was fascinating, and obviously retroactively,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
uh, that was fascinating. I loved his John Moxley feud. Like I thought the TV stuff of that was like fantastic, actually. Uh, Real just like two macho alpha male with big egos type stuff there, and I love the brawls that they were doing. I loved the head-to-head promos where they were taking shots at each other, and the way that they heated that thing up in 3 weeks was very impressive. And like it only was pulled off because of how great CM Punk and John Moxley are. Um, and I've been enjoying this collision run so far.
Yeah, man.
The build of this Punk Joe stuff leaves a bit to be desired, especially in the last 2 weeks. But generally speaking, the stuff he's been doing with Ricky Starks and the stuff he was doing with Jay White at the very beginning, um, commendable. And I've enjoyed this kind of tweener feel that we've been getting, and I think the best is still yet to come with that. So it's been a good return, man. He's added to his legacy. CM Punk was already one of my favorite wrestlers before he made his return, and I thought I gave up on him coming back to wrestling, and him coming back and producing this much like high level work. It just only augments his legacy and as one of just the best American wrestlers of his generation.
Yeah, and like we've already touched on, it definitely hasn't gone without its drama and a couple mishaps here and there. It's that is kind of CM Punk's legacy. He's a great wrestler, but he comes with a lot of other stuff. To say the least. But
I
of
forgot
course,
Eddie Kingston. Oh my
bro,
god.
like you said, there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good content he's produced, and there's a lot of controversial stuff that he's said. And he's CM Punk, man, CM Punk. But yeah, also over the weekend we had another multiverse Impact New Japan show, which had Julia's US debut on it. She was in a four-way match versus Giselle Shaw, Momo Kogo, and Deonna Purrazzo. Heard that got some decent reviews. There was a Bullet Club versus the World match, which was David Finlay, Kenta, Alex Coughlin, Clark Connors, Ace Austin, and Chris Bay. Have you seen this lineup, people? Versus PCO, Josh Alexander, Tamatonga, Tonga Loa, El Phantasmo, and the DKC.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that is unhinged matchmaking. I don't even know what that is.
Um,
I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that is. Um, yeah, I first heard it when the ACA ladies were previewing it, and I was just like, "What?"
yeah,
Uh,
it was
yeah, fascinating,
interesting.
for sure.
Also, we had Leo Rush and Trey Miguel defeated Mike Bailey and Hiromu. Leo Rush pinned Hiromu, who of course is the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, and he called out Hiromu for a shot, which has since been granted. There's going to be a triple threat match for that title on what's the
It's
name of the pay per view?
it's
It's
at one of the
October 9th.
it's one of the destruction shows for New Japan. So
Yes, yes,
it
October 9th.
shows you the corporate synergy with Impact and New Japan right now, where they're shooting angles for their domestic shows in the United States on an Impact branded pay per view. That's interesting. They seem to be on good terms with them. And yeah, that's a great addition to that card because I thought that show needed a bit of juice when I looked at the lineup on paper.
Oh
And
yeah, definitely.
our very own Chris of Unpierce has said that like a lot of the really cool stuff happening from New Japan this year was from the juniors, and I almost forgot about that until like this match was announced. And I was like, oh yeah, man, like Leo Rush has had a bit of a career renaissance in New Japan with his junior run, and Hiromu, he's having the best year of his career since his neck break. So that's going to be an awesome match.
Yeah, definitely. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Of course, there was Alex Shelley versus Tanahashi as well for the Impact World title. So that's another big one. Another big, like you said, they have a pretty good relationship going on there. It seems. Julia, of course, it was her, debut over the US this past weekend. She said that she's not going to be done in the US. Of course, she's the New Japan Strong. Or is she the IWGP? I believe she's the New Japan Strong Women's Champion. Yeah, I'm pretty certain she is. And of course, that was the bout that many thought would be for Mercedes, and I'm sure was planned to be for Mercedes until the injury in the Willow Nightingale match happened. So, of course, that'll be a big match that people want Julia to have in the US. But there's a whole list of people that I think people would like her to wrestle in the US because she's a great, unique talent. There was also the All Star Junior Festival, the New Japan All Star Junior Festival. There was a show this weekend. It featured Matt Sydal, Sean Skywalker, Jack Cartwheel, Kozo Fujita, Robbie Eagles, Alex Shelley, Chris Bay, Ace Austin, Soberano Jr., Casey Navarro, Leo Rush, El Desperado, Nick Wayne. Quite a lot of people, man. In the semis, Speedball defeated Francesco Akira. Kevin Knight defeated Clark Connors, and in the final, Speedball defeated Kevin Knight. So, pretty good show from what I've heard about it. But yeah, man, that's the New Japan All Star Junior Festival. CMML done the Grand Prix International 2023. Team Mexico versus Team International. Whole host of names in that. What else have we got? And yeah, Rampage, of course. That's why I pulled it up earlier. A lot of hype around this Ray Phoenix versus Commander match that went just under 13 minutes on Rampage from Friday. A lot of praise indeed. But yeah, man, need more of this on Rampage. matches that people will talk about and will employ people to go and watch. Because I've noticed, like, before Rampage kind of like fell off a cliff, people who attended the Wednesday shows and the tapings, they would see a great Rampage match, and people would talk about, and you'd hit Twitter, oh, you've got to watch this match on Friday, blah blah blah, and then people would actually watch it. That magic was definitely lost from Rampage up until the past 2 weeks, where they've done these really solid lucha matches. So definitely something going in the right direction with AEW Rampage.
Yeah. It was always fun to hear Dave Meltzer going, "Oh, people told me that match, the Rampage taping was great." Like that was happening all the time in late 2021, going into 2022, and yeah, man, I think that should be what Rampage does. I think give me a no context great wrestling match that makes it worth my time to watch your show at 10 p.m.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, speaking of just shows in general, we're gonna do a quick Raw recap. In Quebec, Canada, they definitely. It was, I don't want to say it was a bad crowd, and I don't want to say it was an amazing crowd. It was a crowd that definitely had its favourites. One of them being the one that opened the show, which of course was Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn comes out, gets a great reaction, and it's nice to see Sami still getting those reactions after his peak of popularity earlier in the year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man, he comes out and he soaks it in.
It takes you back to that WrestleMania season fever pitch that he was at with him.
Absolutely,
and yeah, it was nice to see.
100%. He's interrupted by the Judgment Day, and then they're interrupted by the returning Kevin Owens, and of course the roof comes off for the returning Kevin Owens because it's fucking Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and they just eat that shit up. This was all to build to the main event later on, which was originally a tag match, but later, because of a disqualification and a couple of run-ins and a couple of pro wrestling things happening, it got changed to a 6-man, and we got kind of like your typical Raw All-Star event, main event. But yeah, we also had Drew McIntyre and Riddle versus a New Day. Drew McIntyre and Riddle kind of struggling to get on the same page. Drew doesn't seem too interested in tagging with Riddle, but Riddle really wants to make it happen. We'll see what goes there. I'm still waiting and praying on the Drew McIntyre heel turn, and to be honest, I'm pretty confident in it at the moment. There's definitely some, at least, hints towards it last night, So we'll see what goes there. Drew McIntyre heel turn. I'm ready for it.
It feels like the story we're seeing right now is what they had penciled in for Riddle and Randy, and that Drew is a surrogate for Randy because Randy's just not healthy.
Yeah. We got an interesting Shayna Baszler video package. Did you see that, Ibil? With like the Mortal Kombat bone breaking special effects.
I actually did, and I missed it.
You didn't see it?
I missed it.
It was crazy, bro. It was it's worth going to check out just for the novelty of it. But of course, as you can see it on screen, Chad Gable versus Gunther is definitely one of the things I want to be talking about. They had the Intercontinental Championship match, and they killed it as expected. Two just phenomenal wrestlers, proper wrestlers, just doing what they do. Gable is just kind of run out of words to put him over. Gunther is the best Intercontinental Champion of all time, hands down, and they killed it out there. It went to a count out victory for Chad Gable. Gunther's first loss in a singles match. Of course, he wasn't pinned or anything, but Chad Gable still managed to get the win, and it was a great count out finish, I thought. Gunther goes to get Chad Gable up against the post on the outside, and he goes for a chop. Gable gets out of the way. Gunther hurts his hand. Then Gable just he suplexes him on the outside over the barricade, and Gunther does not make the count back into the ring, and that is how Chad Gable gets his count out victory. Of course, keeping the feud going, giving Chad Gable a lot of credibility as well, and it doesn't really hurt Gunther either. So this was really well done, wasn't it, Ibla?
I loved everything about this. First of all, that was the best count out. That was the best non-finish I've seen on WWE television in a while. And the progression we're getting here with Chad Gable is so cool because they've gotten him over. with the Alpha Academy, and then he's been winning matches and qualifying and doing these things to get more credibility. And there's a sense of progression with this Gunther storyline because the first match was framed as a 5-minute challenge. So off rip, you're like, oh, come on. Like Chad Gable and Gunther, you're going to make that a 5-minute challenge? But it was because they were treating him like a jabroni that Gunther could easily overcome. And he outlasts the 5 minutes and then kind of pushes him past that. And so the first match just establishes, okay, Chad Gable's actually credible and viable. Then the second match, you ratchet up the intensity. The crowd is more into it. You have a more intense back and forth wrestling match. And he actually beats him. But he doesn't pin him, obviously, to win the title. But he does beat him. And it does allow for a return match that you get on pay-per-view. And they did a lot more than they did in the first match, but they still left it open to do the epic. You know, they didn't do all the big near falls and finishers, but they did enough that was really compelling to where this was a very suitable, really exciting middle chapter for a trilogy that I think could easily culminate in like an epic and fantastic pay-per-view match at Payback. So I love this. I thought this was fantastic. Chad Gable is genuinely like just an excellent wrestler, and Gunther, as you said, is the best Intercontinental Champion in the world. So this is what I want on my Monday nights. You know, you got these guys on your roster. Let them fucking do what they do, and what they do is just is produce tremendous wrestling. So
there was a Shinsuke Nakamura video package where he kind of sat down, menacing, spoke quietly and softly about Seth Rollins, knowing that he's in pain. Knows that when he's wrestling, he's in pain. When he's at home with his daughters, he's in pain. Shinsuke Nakamura knows about Seth Rollins' back, he says. Ibu, seeing from what I saw on Twitter, you was quite the fan of this.
Yeah, and as you know, Monty, personally, I'm not a huge Shinsuke Nakamura guy these days. I'm not really into what he has going on, but this is a very substantial step towards making me care about this program.
Okay.
I think the presentation was a big upgrade from the week before because his live interview was flat and very New Japan-esque. He did a lot of vignettes like this in New Japan where he'd sit in a room all cool and freaking cold, and you know he'd be very like sinister but like also charismatic, and that's kind of what this was. And yeah, look, this is a sports-based build we're getting here, which is good, you know, which is basically I'm gonna shatter this guy who has a very real physical ailment that I'm going to exploit, and he took it in a personal direction with the whole thing of like, you know, even when you just live your normal day-to-day life with your wife and your kid, like you're in pain, and I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to win the championship by shattering it. That's a sports-based wrestling build. That's not a sports entertainment build, and it actually brings out a more real side of Seth Rollins that I actually pretty much enjoyed yesterday. So yeah, from a presentation standpoint, this is what you should be doing with Shinsuke Nakamura, and if you kind of build on this, you're going to get me to a place where come Payback, I'm going to actually be pretty into this matchup.
Yeah, man. Definitely a step in the right direction, I think it's fair to say. Rhea Ripley, she defeated Candice LeRae in about a minute, 10 seconds or something. A lot of people, of course, are gonna point out kind of the match times that Rhea Ripley's been having. But, you know, they definitely have a goal of trying to establish her as dominant, and, you know, the kind of most 90% of the rest of the division cannot even step to her. You know, that's kind of the thing that they've gone for. And Candice LeRae getting 1 minute then kind of puts more emphasis on someone like Raquel Rodriguez, who comes out after and then gets some good offense on her, you know what I mean? It gets the upper hand on her. It makes her stand out even more. So it's kind of one of those where, unfortunately, because she's so talented, Candice LeRae is kind of the sacrificial lamb here, you know?
Right.
But yeah, Rhea destroyed Candice LeRae. Raquel Rodriguez comes out with a walking stick, you know, like she's still pretending to sell the injury that she reportedly got from Rhea Ripley, the worked injury, and but it was all you know, it was a pump fake, you know. She throws a walking stick at Rhea, produces an attack on her, gets her in the ring. They get in the ring and they start clobbering each other. They're throwing some real hands in there. Raquel overpowers Rhea a couple times and she body slams her out of the ring. And of course, like I was just said, the emphasis that they've put on Rhea being so dominant, it makes it stand out even more when someone can actually step to her like Raquel did last night. And they set up the payback match, which will be taking place next week, of course. So Yeah, man, Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez, a feud that I think it's fair to say, but Triple H sees a lot of money. Well, I don't know if money is the right word, but he sees a lot in this pairing.
Yes, yes, he's a huge fan of Raquel, and internally with him, like the follow up to the Horsewoman in his mind is like Raquel, Io, Bianca, and Rhea Ripley, and especially with Rhea, Bianca, and Raquel, you can kind of see it. Like he's a really big believer in them, and he really believes in the matchup. They had a match at NXT Halloween Havoc back in 2020. That was
Mm-hmm.
probably Raquel's best match ever, and she's like hardly replicated that effort ever since. And so I think she has a unique Haas girl chemistry with Rhea Ripley. And so because of that, and because of the fact that Rhea, when she does wrestle, when she does actually have matches that like get some time, like this year, I've actually thoroughly enjoyed them. I enjoyed her NXT match with Lyra Valkyra.
Mm-hmm.
I thought her match with Natalia was like really good, and on Raw. So for those reasons, I'm looking forward to this, and it'll have heat because Rhea's over. I will say, like someone in the chat even pointed this out, like Raquel still isn't like at a point where she's like a particularly over and sought after
They're
TV
warming
character.
up though after that angle last night. I actually
She
kind of
is.
noticed it. I was kind of like, oh, maybe this is. It's not where I was assuming Triple H would want it to be. She's going to be stepping to Rhea Ripley on the next pay per view, but
Yeah.
like it's getting somewhere compared. Like if you compare the reaction she got last night compared to 3 months ago, I believe
Well,
you would see a genuine difference. So.
well, that's the power of booking. What they're doing with her is Heyman style booking, which is just this person kills everybody, and then this person is actually able to beat up the person that kills everybody. It's simply
Mm-hmm.
just contrast booking because it's like you make it's more pronounced as like a noticeable thing when the person that they're beating up is someone that kills everybody else. When you establish that hierarchy, then when someone else is able to kind of like step to them and actually beat them up, it's like wow. It's the same way that Drew McIntyre got over in one night at the Royal Rumble because Brock Lesnar kills 10 people straight and then Drew McIntyre eliminates him. It's a very simple booking mechanism, and for some people who maybe didn't take to Raquel, just simply being like, "Oh, this is the girl that could beat up Rhea Ripley," it's gonna turn heads and it's gonna make people kind of go, "Oh, okay, all right." This is a player. So, yeah, I think the match is gonna be good, and Raquel needs to like really show something in the match because I think she could be a made girl coming out of it depending on how it goes. It really depends on how the match goes.
Yeah, man. Tommaso Ciampa cut a pre-tape promo. He hinted at DIY. He even said specifically he's if you want, I think the line was something along the lines of if you want to be the change, you have to do it yourself. You know. Um, so yeah, of course he's been running a hashtag Find Johnny G campaign on Twitter. So it does seem like the DIY reunion is getting closer and closer by the week at this point. There was a Miz live promo where he brings out Akira Tozawa and he says that he's faster, he's stronger, he's better than LA Knight. And he asks Tozawa if this is the biggest moment of his career. Tozawa then says, "Yeah," very loudly. He then asks him a few more questions. Tozawa does the same. Yeah, yeah. Like the crowd's going along with it. Miz is getting very fired up and angry about it. And then yeah, man, this sets up a match between Miz and Akira Tozawa. LA Knight comes out very early on, gets on the commentary booth. The crowd absolutely adore this guy, man. Like, people are looking to the sky, rejoicing, pumping their fists when LA Knight's music hits. Like that's the sort of over we've got with this guy now. Um, they're all in on him, man, and eventually Tozawa, because Miz is so distracted by LA Knight just being in the arena, Tozawa manages to get a win over the Miz, which of course is Miz isn't too happy about, and this is this Miz LA Knight feud. It's not anything that's going to set the world on fire, and it's definitely not one for probably not one for the purists. Excuse my pun, but it's been entertaining, and LA Knight is getting his pops and he's getting more over, and it's working. It's working.
Yeah,
Uh,
look. I'll take this in my third hour of Raw in the middle of the hour.
yeah,
Just LA Knight getting a huge pop and Miz doing shtick, and in this case they got Kira Tozawa over in the process. So it's pretty impressive. Shows you how over this guy LA Knight is, that anybody just in his orbit is going to get over along with him. I'm not a Miz fan at all. I think he's like one of my least favorite wrestlers ever. But I said this on Worldwide. I also don't enjoy Austin Theory, but this guy LA Knight is he's so fun to just kind of watch on TV right now that he's getting like good TV out of the Miz. And he got a good match out of Theory, so God bless the dude. I actually want to quickly, Monty, circle back to Tommaso Ciampa for one thing. It's going to go under recognized and under the radar, but the big takeaway is obviously the DIY tees. But you know what I took more out of that, Monty? That promo that he cut was low-key them they're trying to reestablish the value of winning matches on TV, because so often winning or losing on WWE doesn't matter. Wins and losses don't matter on television, on Raw. They're just things to just fill time, right? But what Ciampa was doing was basically telling you that, like, winning matches on Raw materially will take your career to the next step, because he said that I got pinned by Shinsuke Nakamura. I almost beat him. I got pinned. And now he's fighting Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. I was this close, but I didn't get it. I got pinned by Chad Gable, and now he's in the position he's in where he's going to fight Gunther. God bless him. He's a workhorse, but again, I wish that was me. This close, but not there. And what he's basically doing is he's retroactively attaching value to matches that at the moment, especially in the case of Nakamura, Ciampa, just kind of felt like 3-hour time filler. You know, stuff that it was like whatever. And when you frame it that way, and you continue to show that like there's material consequences to these matches that like will change the trajectory of your career, it then makes these matches matter more. So it's a very subtle thing, and most people probably wouldn't notice or even care. But when I watched that, and he contextualized his losses rather than just a guy being a pin eater. He contextualized it as a part of his journey and what he's about to undergo. It just adds value and makes you pay more attention to what he has going on. So I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, man, definitely. Like you said, a lot of points at the touchdown, but makes matches mean something. So then on top of that, you got the tease for DIY, which good stuff. Ciampa, I don't think anyone who's seen Ciampa do pretty much anything pre-main roster would doubt that he's able to get some good points across in a promo. He's a great promo. Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus, official steel cage match at Payback next week. Also, before Becky Lynch gets to that match, she's got a Falls Count Anywhere match versus Zoe Stark next week. So it hasn't been the most electric build, but hopefully Becky and Trish can have a really fun and good cage match next week. So we'll see how that goes. Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, the current women's tag champs. Obviously, Piper Niven just kind of claimed the spare title that Chelsea Green had. They squashed Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. They had a few promos before the show. That Chelsea Green and Piper did have like a nice little bit of TV time. The match definitely could have gone longer, especially with such a dynamic duo like Kaden and Katana, because they can do stuff that'll pop a dead crowd. They even done it in the 1 minute squash. They done that handstand press thing from the top rope that they did. That did pop the crowd, but Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, I think there is, all they've been used for really is to eat pins and to be like an actual women's tag team that eats pins. But I think there will be opportunity in the future to actually like heat them up and do some good stuff with them. So hopefully they get that opportunity. Chelsea and Piper, of course, have a really fun dynamic. Chelsea Green can make anything work. Piper, even it's great to see back on TV. She's a really good wrestler. So, not too many complaints really, other than the match time here was. It's not like, even though what they were trying to establish is that like Piper's going to do all the work in the matches, it wasn't the same as what they set out to achieve with like Rhea and Candice, for example. This definitely could have gone a few more minutes. So could Rhea and Candice, to be honest. There's never an excuse to do like a 1 minute match, But I was saying to Ibby before we went live, it's like if Candice LeRae, as a wrestler and as a talent, she absolutely is good enough and should be, wrestling longer matches on TV. But in terms of, in the context of who her character is and what she's done on the WWE main roster, she should not be going too long with Rhea Ripley. And you don't have to go to the extreme of doing 1 minute matches, but it probably should have been something like 5 minutes or something like that. But I don't see a world where Candice LeRae going like 10 minutes with Rhea Ripley in the context of where their characters are right now on the main roster. I don't see where that makes any sense whatsoever, you know?
Yeah,
And
no, I don't think so either.
yeah.
Unless like there's a clear concerted effort that like we're going to heat Candace up in the immediate
Yeah, of
future or
course.
something.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
But like I said, you don't have to go to the extreme of what they did last night and give her only like 1 minute and 10 seconds. You could have given her like a nice little 5-6 minutes, you know. But she
Yeah.
shouldn't. There's no world where she should be like competitive with Rhea Ripley, you know. But yeah, after the Chelsea Piper Niven stuff, there was a Seth Rollins promo, and you know he gets real with us for a minute. You know, we're used to seeing Seth in the outfits, like he was still in the outfit, of course, in you know the very loud outfits and the laughs and messing around. But here, you know, he gets real with us and he says, you know, like, my back is fucked, basically. he's like, Shinsuke's right, my back is messed up. He's got 2 fractures in his lumbar spine, he says. And, you know, he gets fired up about how Shinsuke Nakamura is talking about his family and his children, etc., etc. And, you know, he seems locked in for this Shinsuke match, which is and not a nice layer for his character for this feud, you know. Yeah, this was good stuff. What did you think?
Yeah, I touched on this earlier. This is just because the framework of this feud is now sports like and realistic. You have to now put Seth in a different context. He can't just be the revolutionary gimmick. He has to kind of touch on his very real situation, which is that he has chronic back pain and he's dealing with it, and he doesn't know how it's going to go from the future, and he doesn't know how long he's going to last. But basically, that's something I have to deal with, and I also don't appreciate you mentioning my family. So now there's personal animosity, and there's also something for Shinsuke to focus on in the match. And as an audience, you can watch the match and go, is he actually going to win? The seed of doubt is the fact that, oh, Seth's like hurt for real. Like, are WWE going to take the belts off him because he's hurt? You know, like that's actually pretty smartly done, because otherwise there's no actual fear that Seth is going to lose his title at a B pay-per-view. But when you say he's genuinely injured, and they gave the full extent of what the injury is, then that's the doubt right there, you know. And there's going to be spots in the match where Shinsuke is probably going to give him a Bomaye to the lower back or something, and like you're going to be like, oh shit, you know, and it'll make for some like well done near falls, if anything. So well done in that respect.
Yeah, man. They definitely achieved something different here with Seth, which is good. It's good stuff. And of course, we had the main event, which was it was Damian Priest and Finn Balor versus the returning Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. You know, this was good stuff for the few minutes that it lasted. And Finn Balor's biggest enemy at the moment, the Money in the Bank briefcase. JD McDonough comes down, he gets involved, and he tries to throw Finn Balor the briefcase, but Kevin Owens catches it, hits Finn Balor with the briefcase, which causes a disqualification. Very dissatisfying for a lot of people, you know, to see the main event end like that. But that wasn't the end, because there was a bunch of beatdowns going on with the Judgment Day, etc. And then Cody Rhodes makes the save. A huge pop from the crowd. You would have thought he was from Quebec himself. It was almost hilarious to me how over he was in that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cody Rhodes, he comes down, he makes the save, evens things up. You've got 3 people on either side now, and that's what you got for the main event. You had Damian, Finn versus Cody, Sami, KO. And, you know, as most of these Judgment Day versus the baby faces main event tags go, this was really good, really solid stuff. Not really too much to complain about. Wasn't a big angle or anything after the show, I guess. But, yeah, man, a solid main event and a solid episode of Raw, Ripper. A solid episode of Raw.
Yeah, I like this. This is one of my favorite episodes of the year, and I think it's just because it gave me what I needed, which was the crowd was hot for the stuff that I wanted to care about. I got a really, really, really great match with Chad Gable and Gunther, and I'm a sucker for these house show style main events. I totally understand if you're someone who feels they're kind of repetitive, because the fact of the matter is WWE realized a formula that works for their TV this year when it comes to Raw, which is that KO, Sammy, Cody are over baby faces, the Judgment Day are an act that, with all their moving parts, it's the perfect recipe to kind of main event against the babyface because, you know, Dom is the chicken shit heel. Rhea Ripley is like the tough girl who does a cool move to the outside to a man, you know, and then Balor and Priest can be the workhorses. And so they've realized how successful it is to put them against babyfaces. And they realize, like, wow, this works. Let's just keep doing it. And I can totally see why that would be repetitive for some people. But for me personally, because I'm a sucker for these all-star house show style hot tag matches with good crowds, I get really into them every time. It's why I like the ones in Collision too. It's just the idea of Cody, Sammy, and KO taking turns doing hot tags, like one after the other after the other.
Yeah.
Like they just take turns doing hot tags. It's very territory wrestling. It's super territories. And similar to the territories, these guys go city to city doing the same types of, you know, mix and match combinations. It's no different than in 92 WCW when the Dangerous Alliance and the Stinger Squadron guys would just take turns doing different combos of tag matches for the entire first 6 months of 1992. And it's not going to be everybody's thing, but it's certainly mine because I'm just a big fan of the three baby faces involved. And so it made for a really good feel-good main event for a show that had two very good to great matches, and I can't remember the last Raw that had that. So, I was a fan of the show broadly speaking from that standpoint.
Yeah, man, good stuff. And just gonna run down. We've got NXT Heatwave happening later on tonight. They've put on a pretty strong card for what they've got to work with, I guess. NXT title match, Carmelo Hayes, the champion, taking on Wesley, the former North American champion. So that'll be a good one. We've got Dragon Lee and Laura Valkyria taking on the main roster pairing of Dirty Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley in a mixed tag. That's another one that should be pretty good. Nathan Frazier versus Noam Dar for the Heritage Cup. That'll be... I mean, Noam Dar, you can do some stuff. Nathan Frazier is so dynamic. I'm expecting something pretty decent there. Ilya Dragunov versus Trick Williams. Trick Williams is first, like, real big in-ring test, you know. And if you're going to get tested, you'd probably want it to be against someone like Ilya Dragunov, because even if Trick Williams doesn't meet the mark, I think Ilya Dragunov will bring so much to this match that he'll probably get away with it, you know?
This is just by default going to be the best match of his career because Dragunov is just a psycho, you know? Like, he's going to drag him to something. I don't know what that something's going to end up being. It depends on Trick Williams, but he'll drag him to something. So,
and we've got Simone Johnson. What's her WWE name again now?
Ava Rain, I want to say.
Ava Rain, yeah, there it is. Ava. Yeah. Ava Rain versus Ivy Nile. Ava Rain's first singles match, at least first televised one anyway. So best of luck to them. Ivy Nile, you know, she can do some stuff, so we'll see what happens there. Von Wagner versus Baron Corbin.
I will not be watching this.
I will be there, front row. You know, no, I won't be there, but I will be in my room watching this. Edge of my seat. You know, Bron Breakker will also be watching this match. He wants his shot at Von Wagner. Baron Corbin has got to him first, so
he should want a shot at Seth Rollins.
Yeah, man, he's We'll see what goes on after this. Bron Breakker, I'm sure, will be involved somewhere or another. And that's NXT Heatwave, man. And also, just quickly look at this is the AEW Dynamite card that we've got for tomorrow. We've got Swerve Strickland and AR Fox versus Darby Allin and Nick Wayne. We've got the Elite versus Juice Robinson and the Guns. We've got Aussie Open versus the Hardys. We've got John Moxley versus Ray Phoenix. Jack Perry is going to attempt to retire the FTW Championship. Renee talks with Adam Cole. Renee talks with MJF. Sky Blue versus Ruby Soho. Chris Jericho and Ospreay are doing a contract signing. And FTR.
I think Will Ospreay is going to do surprisingly great in that. I think. It's going to be a really funny segment for sure.
Absolutely, and we've got FTR and Young Bucks face to face as well. So stacked episode. I don't know how they're going to fit all that into 2 hours and let everything breathe the way it's meant to, you know. But they've done more in the past, you know. So Definitely something for the AEW faithful to be fired up about. It looks like it's going to be a very significant show. Obviously, the last Dynamite on the road to AEW All In at Wembley Stadium, a huge week for AEW. And
Yes, it is.
before we get out of here,
Mm-hmm.
I wanna try and make this a regular thing. I'm gonna do like a little bit if I can find it. That is fuck. Um, Jesus, where is it? I can't find it, but I know off the top of my head. I want to do some like positive news. You know, if there's any positive news around, you know, like as you see on the news shows, you get like a bit of positive news at the end. So the positive news that has come out recently is Conan, who we talked about earlier in the podcast. He has found a kidney donor. Now it's not known as of yet if it's an exact compatible match for him, but at least he's moving in the right direction medically. You know, he's found a kidney donor, which he's been looking for a minute. Conan, if you've been keeping up to date with his, you know, his health over the past year or so, he's been a rough time, man. So, like I said, at least he's moving in the right direction. He's found a kidney donor, and we are very happy to hear it for him. And also, speaking of medical victories, Jim Ross has updated us with some good news. His MRI came back negative of cancer, and he no longer has cancer in his tibia bone. No, tibia, full stop. I believe he had skin cancer on the bottom of his leg, of course, the tibia. And yeah, man, he's got no cancer no more for Jim Ross. Absolutely great news. And a couple of nice medical updates to end the show. There's a Mercedes Moné tweet there as well. And
Yeah. What was this about?
so if we had a bit more time, probably would have just, you know, mentioned that
Yeah.
Mercedes, you know, she added Bailey saying that she wants to do this again. Of course, that is a picture of NXT Takeover Brooklyn from 2015, classic match between Sasha Banks and Bailey. And yeah, man, we'll see what Mercedes is going to get up to over the next few months because I guess her injury is starting to heal up now. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, we've gone a little bit longer than we expected to, but you know it was quite a loaded show, especially with like the Raw recap. We're gonna speed through some super chats and then we're gonna get out of here. Zayd 94.99. Ibi, just curious, was the Lakers PR the reason Reeves closed the game over Midget Brunson? Shade aside, I think you're the best voice of the IWC.
That means a lot, Zayd. I really, really thank you. I try to be fair. I try to be balanced. I try to just be insightful and entertaining at the same time. And I'm happy that you enjoy what I contribute to to wrestling, the wrestling space. So thank you, Zayd. Jalen Brunson's a way better player than Austin Reeves, but at the end of the day, Austin Reeves he's a white point guard on the Lakers, so he's going to get posted by all the social media pages. He's going to be hyped up. They're going to post him just walking into the venue with a fire emoji. They're going to post any crossover he does. So that's the deal with Austin Reeves.
Zay Nandy again, appreciate you. 199. Gable is Brian Angle Hall. He's so great. Yeah,
He's
man.
special.
That like when people compare people from like the Attitude Era or the Ruthless Aggression Era or just any legend in general, like so a lot of the time it is really lazy, you know. But like, I think the Gable Kurt Angle thing is like, I think it's so real, you know. Like he it's almost like he's like Kurt Angle without the level of opportunity that Angle got in his first year on the main roster. You know, like he can do the comedic stuff and not take himself too seriously, and he's a great TV character that's entertaining and stuff. But at the same time, when he needs to switch it on, like he did last night in his match versus Gunther, he's more than capable of doing it. And when he does that, he can match up against anyone, including a dominant champion like Gunther. You know, so he's great, bro. He's great, and Kurt Angle could do the exact same thing. You know, he was great TV. He was great comedic wrestling TV, but he could also be, you know, he could also be a badass at, you know, put the hurt on people.
Yep.
Craig, appreciate the super sticker. Chi-Town Spurs, $5. Appreciate you as always. You guys following this TK media call? Sounds like more changes to the card due to real world issues incoming. We had Charlie, our very own, on the call, so we wasn't on it ourselves. As you could see, we was doing this, and it did start pretty much at the same time. But of course, I'm gonna get all up to date from Charlie. I believe she's done a Twitter thread as well, which I'm gonna have a little read through and see what TK said. That was super interesting.
Yeah, there's going to be changes. There's going to be changes to Stadium Stampede.
Okay. Will Chisholm, $5. Is it getting to the point where AEW and WWE start hitting up Stardom talent, aka Stardom Purge? I think
Maybe.
that's a bit ambitious, I would say, but we'll see, man. We'll see. Stardom's got such a great roster, bro. That you could take like the 15th best wrestler from Stardom, and it would probably be someone that I'd pop for. Like um, they've got a really great roster, so it wouldn't surprise me, I guess. Jacob Donnelly, $10. Appreciate it. Random thought, but has Wardow's absence been due to him having his passport stolen when his car was broken into months ago, or is he low-key on the way out? I don't think he's low-key on the way out unless his contract's going to be up soon or something. But the passport thing that was brought up when they were doing the Canada tour, but of course they've been back in the US recently, haven't they? So that wouldn't be an issue for the US states. It's just obviously creatively they're in quite a weird spot with him at the moment, to say the least. So, Will Chisholm, go on.
I don't know.
Go ahead. Good.
Yeah, no, I said I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen with Wardlow. I don't know.
Okay. Oh, my bad. Will Chisholm, $5. So is Kairi signed to WWE legally, or is it just a verbal deal where she gets to finish up her Japan dates? As far as I'm aware, like it's agreed. I don't know if she's actually like signed, but it was said that she's supposed to be finishing up her dates, and she hasn't cancelled any of her dates yet. So whether she's signed on the dotted line or not yet, or put pen to paper or not yet, she is allowed to do the dates that she was previously booked for. So apparently, those in Stardom believe that she'll be making her WWE debut around November time, which of course lines up with Survivor Series, which lines up with War Games, which lines up with X, Y, and Z. So we'll see what happens there. Sad Roddy Strong, $5. Appreciate you, Monty. If I travel to Wembley, will the Royal Guard beat me up? I've been having bad luck recently, and I don't need to be beaten by Brits in funny hats. I've never had any problems with the Royal Guard, so I'm not sure about you, brother. Short on Spurs, $2. I'm gonna say Rampage been cooking recently. Like I said, man, they've put a couple good matches on there, bro. And when it's only a 1 hour show, if you put one really good match on it, it will make a world of difference. Yeah,
totally agree. Yeah, listen. What I can tell you guys is there's been some changes to the creative process of Rampage recently, and that's probably why there's been a noticeable improvement in the show. And it hit a really bad low point before this, where like not only was it like there wasn't any marquee content, there wasn't even any good matches. It was just nothing content. So I do like this trend.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. Hopefully to keep it up. Codeman's Left Hand, $4.99. Appreciate you. Hopefully Sammy Guevara, Jack Perry, and the Collision ladies have matches at All Out. Sammy Guevara, I'd be very surprised at this point. Jack Perry wouldn't surprise me too much, especially because he's got like a segment this Wednesday, and he's been featured quite heavily recently. The Collision ladies, Willow especially, I'd love to see on the card. Chris Statlander would of course be nice. He's a champion after all, and I do like this Mercedes Martinez and Diamante and everything. So we'll see if we can squeeze some of them on. We'll see. Bout Machine 999, appreciate it. TK is chronically online and definitely sees booking criticisms. Before he'd make changes to appease the internet wrestling community, why do you think he's no selling recent criticisms which have been much louder? I don't think he is no selling them. It's just how does he tackle them? Yeah. Well, anything you want to add on that one, Ibu?
What is this? Do you think he's no selling recent criticisms which have been much louder? I just think that there's a lot of voices in the room right now, and so he's just being inundated with opinions on every angle, and he's just trying to go with his gut. And so before it was kind of Tony doing the show, and he'd read the fans, and he was in touch with the fans, and he'd try to appease what they want. And now I think maybe there's other voices that are kind of telling him, no, trust this plan, trust that process, don't worry about Twitter sometimes. And that's always going to be a balance when it comes to listening to the online and trusting your judgment. So. Yeah, I don't know if he's no selling. I think it's just a lot of voices in the room, and he's just trying to balance all of that.
Mm-hmm. Will Chisholm, $5, appreciate it. So you think Triple H will try to brand a pay-per-view takeover on the main roster? Nah, I don't think he'd do that. Who knows, but I don't think he would. Bout Machine 499, appreciate it. Ibu, enjoy your takes. What's the story behind the Hangman moniker? Were you initially Adam Page parody account, and was Adam Pearce just playing on words?
It was a play on words. It was my name on Cage Match, and when I made my Twitter account, I was like, what's a quirky Twitter name? I started out on Twitter. It was a burner to talk about wrestling away from like my main account, so that I don't bother my like real life friends about wrestling who don't care. And so I made the Twitter account Hangman Adam Pearce parody. No, it's just Hangman Adam Pearce, and it was just to mix the two names. I was a big Hangman Page guy at that time in AEW, and Adam Pearce didn't appreciate that. He thought that I was impersonating him, and Twitter destroyed my account. So I had to make a new one, and I had to put parody in my name because otherwise Twitter would think that I'm impersonating him. And so I became Hangman Adam Pearce parody. And then I reached 1,000 followers, and people were like, "Oh, you're going Hollywood now." And so I just drew the Hogan mustache over him, and I became Hollywood Hangman Adam Pearce parody.
Yeah, and then you started podcasting him, and I told him to get serious and stop being a gimmick online. And now you've got your Wrestle Purist, and you get this. You don't quite get the camera every week, but you get the selfie. Huncho 199, appreciate it. Goldberg / All In pretty much dead at this point. Talk has definitely quietened down on that front, but I still wouldn't be overly stunned if Goldberg walks out at Wembley on Sunday. So we'll see. We'll see if Tony's cooked anything up there. Huncho 499. Yeah, Huncho 499, appreciate you again. Are you surprised JD's sitting out Wembley? As one of the few AEW stars that lives for big presentation and atmospheres, I find it strange. I guess that is a good point, because Jade definitely is like one of the presentation people, as far as talent goes in AEW. So her in front of that many people on that big of a stage with that sort of presentation would be definitely something that you think would circle. But she's not in the mix at the moment, As we mentioned earlier on in the show, there has been discussions of her getting back into the mix, but she's just not in the mix at the minute, Willie 199, appreciate it. What do y'all think? And what y'all want me to pay back?
To main event Payback.
Oh, main event. Okay. It probably should be Rollins and Shinsuke, to be very honest, because if it's not, when the fuck is that total ever going to main event a pay-per-view? So, yeah, I'd probably just give it Seth at this point.
And I'll say this, when that match was first set up, I wasn't really interested in it, and I think it has to give the title credibility. Yes. And I think the direction they need to go in until then is to really make you feel like this is the end of Seth Rollins. Because you have to make it feel
like fucked. That's the story, bro.
Yes, but you have to really build on it, really make it really make the people scared that this is it for Seth Rollins. This might be his last match. You got to go all in on that and do that type of drama and stuff, and really get Shinsuke to a point where that's a viable main event. I don't think that's going to be the match of the night, but it probably should. Personally, the mark in me, Monty, would main event the IC title with Gunther and Gable.
Yeah, but it's not. That's selfish, It's like I'd be with you. I'd be right there with you, bro. But it's like a selfish choice,
Yeah, it's a selfish choice, and it would send the wrong message about Seth's belt.
Absolutely.
So you kind of have to close with Shinsuke and Seth, and so hopefully they continue to build on what they did this week.
But yeah, like I said, I think we're pretty much wrapped up. We've gone through a lot of news today. Like I said, we're going to be doing these afternoon slots on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Obviously, this episode had quite a lot of stuff from the Observer newsletter, which we'd normally cover on the Friday afternoon shows. So there was quite like a backlog of like news and updates, and that's why this has gone so long. But we want to try to keep these at about 60, 70 minutes. And yeah, man, we're going to keep trying. We're going to try and keep you as up to date with all like the news and ongoing as neatly and as often as possible. Like I said, every afternoon, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we're going to try and do these Wrestle Purist news updates, and then we're going to try and clip them up for each story and put each story on the channel, etc., etc. So you've got like nice little 5-10 minute clips for each big story, and we'll see where it goes from there. We appreciate everyone who's turned out for this first episode of our afternoon news updates. Not sure on the name yet. With myself and Ibu, we'll be back tomorrow afternoon with something very similar. Won't be as packed because, of course, we've covered so much today. And yeah, man, please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. It always means a lot, especially get those likes up. I always forget to plug it. But yeah, follow us on Twitter. Hit up our website. Merch should be in our description. Follow us on Twitch. Follow us everywhere you can find us. We're on quite a lot of these social media sites. So, we're going to be trying to bring you more and more content, more and more better content. And this is hopefully the first of many. It's been myself and Backup Hangman with your Wrestle Purist news update. Peace.